Something that concerns you that you think will linger, or is this just kind of a one game sort of situation?
Not linger is a little bit ambiguous. I think with these types of things, there's a process that you have to go through. And obviously, he hasn't played a lot in the preseason, maybe just a half of the games, which is reflective, I think, of 80, 79 games last regular season, and really a full summer of training and competition. And so I think we're aware of that. And as a result, want him to be 100%, if not close to it. And he's not there. I couldn't give you a more specific answer than that.
Hey, Coach, I was curious about, with communication being an emphasis, especially on the defensive side of the ball, when you have a guy that's pointing out, a matchup that's open or anything like that, and somebody's head is the other way, is that a matter of you asking that guy to maybe speak up in a different way, or a change in the way that they're communicating so that that guy doesn't get maybe an open shot off?
Yeah, I think sometimes it's as simple as someone not hearing you, so you want to talk louder. Sometimes we all know, it's really, you can all walk through the times, the challenges of communication, whether someone isn't aware, they're thinking about something else. It's not always effective. Sometimes you may not agree with something someone says. I think the biggest things are there's certain things that we know we need to say, and in a particular situation, that's really as much as anything. In transition defense, pointing is probably pretty good, because someone's got to handle that. You don't really know who it could be at a given time, but yeah, it's reflective in so many ways, and I think it's also sometimes guys don't know what to say, so trying to give them an idea of what we want to say in certain situations, so there is clarity. But again, it's something that is connected and unique to the extent you're good at it, what you're able to do. There's a back screen the other night. There was confusion on the play, and we weren't able to call it, and we give up a layup. So you want to clean. Some of those things will happen. You want to clean up as much of that as possible.
You got to the line. I'm over here. You got to the line 46 times in the first game. What does that offer you offensively? How do you continue?
I'm sorry, we got what?
You got to the line, the free throw line, 46.
Well, they were fouling us. If you watch the tape, we could have been to the line 80 times. That was a game that we played through that in the second half, and I think as a result we got to the line. We had to be tougher, but every small pick and roll, there was two hands in our back. There were some crucial situations, and that's not to diminish the challenges for the referees, but when a team, I felt like that was game plan, and it has an impact on the game, and you have to adjust to it, and it's not easy for anyone. But as I said, I didn't think I thought there were a lot of things that were not called that could have been, and unfortunately sometimes at the tone of that game, we had two really, really concerning plays. That's how Jalen, broke his wrist last year. He got turned upside down, and that had a huge impact on our season. And there was a couple times that happened where you just kind of go, you're worried. And when a game gets out of hand like that, there's more of a possibility that could happen. And I say that in one breath. Well, that stands alone. But I say, you can also make the argument that physicality, is part of the game. So I understand that too. There's some specific situations that we need to be stronger in. But it's hard to roll in a pick and roll, which is something that's been effective for us when you're being held. You know, how much, where that, you know, line is, I don't know, but I thought that was an impactful part of the game for us that I think we did eventually respond to well, and I think as a result, we got to the line. So, always good to see. Those are high percentage plays. If you can get to the line and get to the rim, you know, you're going to be successful in those situations. But it requires you to also have some toughness.
You may not know the answer to this question, so maybe it's not quite fair to ask, but going back to your first stint here in Atlanta, when you left in 2014, did that kind of make the opening on the staff that Charles Lee may have gone into? And did you cross paths with him at all?
Okay, yeah, but years ago, my first stint, someone called my month and a half of my first year in Atlanta, and I couldn't remember what that meant. So my first stint in Atlanta, I didn't hear the date, so I got,
I mean,
before I went to Utah.
Yes.
Yeah, I think Nevin Spatia was the guy that replaced me in the immediate moment, so I actually did know the answer to that. Charles and I, you know, this business, it's a small business, and he's someone that I know and, you know, respect. You know, our path, we've never worked on the same staff together, but we have a lot of interconnectedness, so to speak. One of his, you know, his head assistant was with me here in Atlanta, and he came to Utah, Lamar Skeeter, and, you know, and obviously Charles has a lot of respect and enthusiasm for Lamar, but I was really excited for Lamar when Charles hired him, so that you know, I think that's common in the league where you have relationships that, you know, people blend together, and there's trust involved in that. So,
Hugh, with Onyeka getting the bulk of the minutes in the second half, was it due to how productive he was and the kind of rhythm that he may have had for you to kind of stick with him going down to the close of the game?
yeah, you know, this is a great question that you could kind of ask, and we'll be able to ask about our team the entire year. And one of the things that for me, that I always think about when you make a decision like that, and let's put it in the positive, and because we won the game. And people would say that was the right decision because you won. You may make a decision that ends up in a win, but let's say you win by 4. Had you made a different decision, maybe you would have won by 12. You know, like if we had the benefit of this alternate reality, you know, that it's not a movie and you just do the best you can. And the thing that to me is really significant about that is the way that those two guys support each other. I think the situation that we're in is unusual on some level. There's parts of it that this is part of the league, it's part of professional basketball. We have a lot of situations like that right now, which is a good thing. You know, on some level, people say those are good problems to have, but it requires guys to sacrifice. You know, Larry had an excellent preseason. I know Onyeka didn't play in the preseason, but then, sure, he played really well the other night. You know, and there'll be nights that we'll have to make those decisions. It's also true, you know, on the perimeter, you know, with a number of guys, like where do you go, who do you finish with, who's shooting, defense, you know, all those different things you try to win, and really you just try to do your best, and it's pretty easy. You have to accept the fact that you could probably make an argument on either side, and it's fair that people ask those questions, although they're really, you know, I guess my point is there's really not a good answer all the time. There's just the result, which we use to reflect, you know, how good a decision it is. It's usually a good decision if you win, and if you don't, it's not a good decision. And my point is simply you could have won by more, and we just don't know that.
Hey Coach, just want to follow up on the ball handling duties with another guard being down. After sitting on it for a couple of days, is there more responsibility that's going to be distributed when it comes to ball handling?
I think that's the case with everyone other than Trey. You know, I mean, whether it's Bogey or Kobe or Veet or Dyson, that's something that our team has embraced, but from an execution standpoint, it's not always easy. And I think how we play offensively, it makes sense. Trey's a unique player, and he's a pure, no one would dispute the fact that Trey is a point guard. I think the versatility of those guys is important, but they've got to help each other, and not only do they have to help each other, but the other guys, whether it be Zach or Jalen, some guys that you see handling the ball a lot, they don't handle as much at half court, but that's something we're aware of as well.